fans, thank you for joining CCE this Friday evening and picking us over many other options you all have. As you know, elections matters. Voting matters. Voting for the right candidate matters even more. That is why CC is bringing the candidates to our fans and followers so that they get to know them, ask questions before deciding who is the right candidate on the election day. First, a little history on CCE. As some of you know, Cerritos was lacking an open platform where anyone can express their opinion without fear, regardless of their gender, nationality, color, race, ethnicity, or social economic status. We also saw a need to provide an unbiased reporting with no special interest backing and are glad to see the impact we could make. We are equally pleased by the encouragement, enthusiasm, and support we have been getting from our community for the past 18 plus months. CCE offered to meet the candidates during June primary, and few of them responded, as you have seen on our Facebook page. We repeated the offer and are hoping to bring all the 4 candidates running for the 58th Assembly and 32nd Senate District in a 4-part Facebook Live series. Meet Mike's Republican candidate for the 58th Assembly District seat. Welcome, Mike.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to visit. And I think one thing our viewers should know, just as they get an opportunity to learn, we as a candidate get an opportunity to learn from the questions. So it's really a two-way street. So I look forward to having a good, thorough discussion. A lot of us spent a lot of hours at work today. Some of us may be getting ready to go to work, who work an overnight shift. But we should have a good time being able to talk about some important issues that affect a lot of us. So I look forward to this opportunity over the next hour.
Okay, thank you, Mike. So let us go through some questions we have here. We got this from our fans during the past few months since we announced this Facebook Live event.
You know, you take a look at the crime situation. Let's be very honest about what went on in the legislature this year. This was the year of the criminal. The criminals got the laws. We didn't. We didn't get anything to protect us. The criminals are being let out of jail. Now they've got the legislation passed where, coming close to where you live, the cities can enact the laws that will allow safe drug houses. Are we kidding? That is ridiculous. We all see the mess up in Sacramento that's gone on, that's allowed this, because San Francisco allows this kind of nonsense to go on. I want to make it very clear. I am not for letting the criminals out of jail. We need to lock them up. There has to be a clear right and wrong in society. And this legislature has muddied that waters like never before, have given criminals unbelievable opportunities to get out of jail, lower the crimes. We've allowed 14 and 15-year-olds that can go out and murder somebody and not be held accountable. So I want to make it very clear, that is not Mike Simpfenderfer. Mike Simpfenderfer is going to make sure we put the criminals on notice. I was endorsed by ALADS for a reason. I support our sheriff deputies doing their job. I am not going to tie their hands behind their back. I'm not going to be part of a group of people who seem to think the solution is, let's just, the criminals weren't really that bad. Bull. We need to lock them up. Our grandmothers need to be able to walk the streets and take their grandchildren to the park without an issue. We need to be able to go walk anytime that we want on our streets to the parks, to the farmers market. We need to be able to let our children go to school without an issue. But right now, this legislature, including my opponent, supported everything that the criminals wanted, and we got nothing. So I hope that makes it real clear as to where I stand on crime.
Thank you, Mike. And that was one of the most common questions we get regarding Proposition 47 and 57. So let us move on to the next question, which is one of our fans asked, how will you address homelessness and the encampments around the cities?
We are plowing billions with a B, taxes, going to what? To help the homeless. And what do we get? A growing homeless population. Sacramento has completely failed in their effort to be able to do something about reducing, let alone managing, the homeless camps that seem to be growing up. I heard the term the other day, people call them Garcettivilles, after Mayor Garcetti. We need to make it very clear. Cities should have the right to be able to monitor and say, these encampments are not allowed. We should be able to block grant money to nonprofits. Nonprofits do a much better job of actually helping our homeless get acclimated back into society. We have too many people in government who seem to think the job now is collect more tax revenue, create new permanent bureaucracies, and tell the homeless people, it's okay, we're now here to take care of you forever, and you can keep on sleeping in your tents. No, I'm sorry, that is not acceptable. What's acceptable is that we fund the nonprofits with block grant funding. They're much more efficient. They actually care about what they're doing to reduce the homeless, and have a very clear discussion with homeless, sleeping on the streets, sleeping on the benches, sleeping in doorways, urinating in doorways, defecating in doorways. That is not allowed, period. And we're going to have a clear way of taking a person from being homeless back into society. And we will provide those nonprofits with plenty of money. We are collecting billions with the B, and we're all tied up with bureaucracy. That needs to end. We need to give it to our churches. They know what to do. We need to give it to our nonprofits. They know what to do. The problem is, the politicians, they don't have a clue. Let's fire them.
Thank you, Mike. So here is another question from one of our followers. As you know, there is the sanctuary city is a very, very controversial theme, and some of our neighbors decided to join sanctuary cities. So even in Cerritos, this is one of the hot topics. So what would you like to tell them?
I would like somebody to be able to present the person who actually became a citizen because of SB 54. Please bring that person forward so we could try to understand how SB 54 helps somebody become a citizen. All SB 54 did was allow politicians with a political agenda to beat their chest and show, I'm going to take care of people who need help, and I'm going to fight Washington, D.C. That's great. So again, what did you do to help people? And we're finding out not much. The state does not control immigration law. What the state ought to be doing is enacting, we will give a tax credit. You become a citizen for the next 2 years because of the high cost. We recognize the high cost. We will issue you a $250 a year tax credit. That's something constructive. That is something helpful. That encourages people to take action. Right now, the only action they're encouraging people to do is fear built upon more fear by politicians feeding the fear factor. If the state of California and local cities and counties and nonprofits wanted to be able to do something to help people, there's a lot of people that could potentially fix their immigration issue. It's the cost. I went through it myself. I know what that cost is. I made the decision of taking care of the immigration work that I had to do or buy a new car. So instead I drove a vehicle with 250,000 miles on it. It's costly. It's thousands and thousands of dollars. We need to be able to fund nonprofits and ask people, if you believe you can fix the issue and you simply need some help, come forward. Share with the lawyers who are going to volunteer their time or work at a deep discount under the umbrella of the nonprofits, and let's solve the issue. Let's stop all this chest beating. It doesn't help anybody, and all it does is drive up the fear factor. I want to be constructive and do something that we can control, not sit here and just play politics, which is what's going on.
Okay, now let us move on to the next question here. One of our followers wants to know your thoughts on marijuana permits being issued to private businesses.
Recreational use of marijuana I'm sorry, I do not support that, period. Because what we have failed to do is tell our students, you want to go out and drive a truck. Truck drivers now are getting anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000 a year. Guess what? If you're a recreational user, you are not getting the job. The Department of Transportation regulates that. They take a urine test. You've used marijuana? That's it. We have completely failed to communicate the consequences. So I am not in favor of the recreational use. Medical use, that should be tightly controlled. And my fear is we're simply just letting, oh, no problem, go ahead. And we all know what happens. Once you start to let that out and lose control of it, their focus for medical use only starts to get gray areas. And that is my concern. We need to be able to allow it for use of medical purposes. It should come back into the pharmacies where it belongs, where it's regulated, and we make sure the right people are getting access to that for medical purposes. This recreational use, we're not explaining the consequences to our young adults of what happens when they use drugs, and that's what we need to be doing.
Thank you, sir. Now let us spend some time on the various propositions on the ballot on November 6th, especially, because there are so many, and I think some of our followers would like to know, the things which you think are critical and where do you stand on those things?
Let's talk about Proposition 6, because that's getting a lot of attention. The legislature enacted SB 1. My opponent supported all that. Jerry Brown put his thumb on everybody to get behind that, including he's putting his thumb on business groups and unions to fund and fight. It's a very unfair fight, but that's politics. That is doing nothing to help our roads because it allows the legislature to take the money and reappropriate it other directions out of fixing roads in the future. So this whole argument that it's going to fix all the bridges and all that, I'm sorry, you gave the legislature the key to the vault to use whenever they want for whatever purpose they wanted. And we need to ask the tough question, where's the money been going? We have the second highest taxes in the United States, and our roads are the crappiest roads in the United States. We need to ask some difficult questions, and the thing is, we already know where some of it's been going. It hasn't been going to the roads. We need to get back to the basics. Taxes for gas, fix roads. Taxes for gas, fix bridges. Not fund everything else that we've been using with it. So yes, I am for Proposition 6. It hit those who struggle the most, the hardest. And this legislature developed a cold shoulder towards the people that are trying to make it in California. It's too expensive already, and that needs to end. And we need to do something for people for once, not for the politicians. You take a look at rent control. If you want to see the effects of rent control, drive through South Central LA. Let me know how that goes. All rent control does is allow people to feel good, and you get to punish the greedy landlords. It does nothing to build homes. It does nothing to control cost long term. We need to open up all of these empty lands. How many more empty Kmarts do we have to have before we figure out the cities should be able to expedite? List the parcels that are empty that would be available for expedited rezoning in Cerritos, in Artesia, in all the cities, where within 90 days it could get rezoned to mixed use. It has to be purchased by only owner-occupied purchases, and we would build properties that are at least 10% below the going rate so our young home buyers have a fighting chance. That's real solutions to doing something about housing. That cities control what's going on. Every time Sacramento seems to stick their nose in it, all they do is make it worse. So I want to work with the cities and put out a list of addresses and say these addresses in our city are available for expedited zoning to mixed use. You have to agree to resell owner-occupied only, 10% below the going rate, and it's owner-occupied. So we give our kids a fighting chance and then do a set-aside to be able to help the people that are struggling who want to be a homeowner. So you go to the builder and say, we're going to authorize 50 units to be built on this property. You got to set aside somewhere between 5 and 10 of them for low income, and then invite Habitat for Humanity to come into the formula and say, you know how to find the right people who deserve the help. So have them be part of the solution instead of antagonizing them by not trying to help them. That's the type of leadership that we need, where it brings all these parties together and we start building. We must start building. And we need to be able to build now, not in a year, not in 2 years, but now. I'm asking the cities, open up those empty commercial lots, make them available for expedited rezoning, and let's start getting keys into the hands of our young people trying to buy a house.
Thank you, sir. As you know, education and schools are always, very important for a lot of our parents in our community. So, as you know, probably in our school district, ABC Unified School District, there is a bond for $258 million. We call it as Measure BB, which is again hotly contested. So many Cerritos residents and also those in other cities would like to know your thoughts on this bond.
Let's get the facts out. The tax basis that all the homes in the Unified School District operate at some of the lowest in the state of California. It's about 1.08%. You go to the next city up, like Montebello, they're over 1.35. So just from the beginning, if you take an average assessment of $300,000, homeowners in the ABC Unified School District have over $900 a year of less taxes to pay than that same homeowner in Montebello. And why? Let's be honest. Big picture, our cities, Cerritos, Artesia, Lakewood, the school district, they've done a good job of trying to control costs. If they didn't, the taxes would be higher. And simply look at surrounding school districts and where the people live there and what their tax base is. So the proof is in the tax bill. So already from the beginning, everybody who lives in that area, they're operating with very low property taxes. If it's an average of $50 per $100,000 assessed, and they're saying we have an average assessment of $300,000, it's $150 a year. You're already $900 up over surrounding areas, especially when you compare to Montebello. So we got to ask ourselves, if we are not going to help the school be successful, when are we? They did an incredible process to invite people in, and the key words of that bond, up to $258 million. Not we're going to go spend $258 million, spend $258 million. It's up to. They learned from what went wrong in 2014. They learned what didn't go right in 1997. If this school district is going to be successful, they cannot be successful by starving them to death financially. That is not a solution for anything. Why are the home values up in this area? It's because of your schools. So from a financial standpoint, it's protect the schools. You're protecting your own business called your school district that drives up your home values. The school wants to go beyond just being status quo. They want to move into exceptionalism. Let's back them up. Let's help them do it. Let's realize from a financial standpoint, they've done a good job with the cities over the years. Let's invest in our kids and let's protect our home values. Let's help those home values come up, because the schools are committed to be able to move on into the 21st century. And then the tough topic is, I don't want to be the voter that votes this down, and then God forbid something happens on the campus and we didn't provide the money. 10% of the money is about getting these schools safer. I would want to be the voter that made sure the school is safe. So I am for BB.
Thank you, sir. So another talked about item in Cerritos and adjacent cities is regarding the proposed West Santa Ana Branch Transit Corridor project. Some of our followers would like to know, do you agree with the fact that City of Cerritos officially decided to oppose that development, and also what you would like to tell City of Cerritos?
We are governed best locally. This city has decided they don't want it. It should be their right to say, take us out. then Bellflower has come forward and said, we want it to be part of. That's part of having local government control over what's going on in your city. Cerritos decided they didn't want to do it. That's fine. That's their right. And if the citizens don't like it, they need to get hold of the city council and let them know, reverse course. But yet Bellflower has stepped forward and said, hey, we actually want it to stop here because we see economic growth. That is their right to be able to do that. Sacramento or regional or state authority should not dictate you must have and you must not. Cities need to be empowered to make decisions for themselves. We are governed best when we are governed locally. So congratulations to both cities of making decisions on behalf of your citizens that's right for your voters.
Thank you, sir. Another hot topic is, affordable housing shortage. As you know, California is really struggling. So the question is that, do you support or do you think that mixed-use developments like the one recently shut down, Artesia Live, do you think this will solve this affordable housing crisis?
Well, the question is, how many of those units are really going to be affordable? We don't know. What we do know is that it had a lot of impact on their neighbors, and their neighbors said, time out, you can't unilaterally go make this decision and then impact us without consequences. We need to have smaller developments that occur so that way when the cities make the decision to go to mixed use, it doesn't punish your neighbors. Just like you can't have a party at 1 a.m. and expect your neighbors to go, okay, go for it. That's called being rude. If you're going to do something that's going to involve your neighbors, you better get a hold of them at the beginning and get their input and find out, do you have to redesign your project? We need to be expediting, as I said earlier, mixed-use projects that are aimed at moderate-priced homes, not the highest-priced homes. There's nothing wrong with a developer wanting to buy a piece of land and develop it for the highest price the market will bear. That's fine. Let them go through the normal processes. But we need to be able to show that if you're willing to cooperate and go through where we're going to have moderate-priced homes with a set-aside for some low, your city government will partner in and expedite matters through the rezoning and maybe even perhaps give you some reduced fees for the set-aside for the low-income buyers to be able to own a house. That's called responsible governing. We need to be doing more of that, and we need to do it fast.
Thank you, sir. I'm sure this is a common question from our Democrat friends. So they would like to know, if elected, how will you work with the challenging Republican president?
We have challenging presidents, whether they're Republican or Democrat. The question is, will they have policies and laws that make our lives difficult? So let's be very specific. I am not for overriding the tremendous progress California made for clean air. For the federal government to come in and say, we're going to roll it back and let polluters in? No. I'm sorry. That's where I disagree, because we deserve the cleanest air possible. For the federal government to come in and start doing that, no. So it's not so much whether it's this person or that person that's in the office, it's how it affects us. Just like immigration affects us. It's a huge impact in California. And I hope our members of Congress and the Senate are taking proactive measures to affect the laws that they're looking at doing to change things. We need to be involved and not so much involved with name calling. We're doing a great job with the name calling. And what's it gotten us? Not a whole lot. I'm going to work where it makes sense, and where Washington decides to poke their nose into something that's going to make our lives more difficult, I'm sorry. I want clean air.
Okay, so let us see how we are doing from our live audience. So let us check.
So first of all, thank you. And there are a few comments.
Okay.
And one of the first comments is about the bond is for 30 years and that it would double the value. What would you like to say about that?
How are we going to get the schools safe? The problem is nobody has come up with substantive alternative financing that says if we finance this way, we can go get $258 million. Now, if you want to shorten a period of time, it would raise the cost. So when they had all that input for all those months where people were allowed to go say what they thought, and then the committee that was put in charge realized you got to look at the 30-year option to keep it reasonable, or else elderly would struggle. At $50 a year per 100,000, it's a balance, and it's a balance that I believe will work.
Thank you. And there is another question, if you can take one.
Sure.
This question is, what do you think of Democratic politicians who get assigned bad offices and bad committees by California Democratic Party if they speak out against AB 109?
They need to solve that with their caucus. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if the Republican caucus is going to be very excited about me either. Because I've taken positions that are not necessarily march the party line. I'm not being financed heavily by anybody. I'm being financed primarily by people giving me money because I work for the people. And I've been very upfront. There's going to be things that I will vote against that won't make people in the party happy. And there will be things I will vote for that will make the party happy. I believe we need to do a better job of working with our trade council, because when we build, it's our people getting the jobs. And those union jobs pay well. And so you're darn right. I am going to protect our jobs in our district, and I'm going to fight anybody who attacks our families who are trying to get ahead. And that's probably not going to make some people happy.
Thank you.
So here is another question from our Democrat friends. As a Democrat, tell they want to know why they should vote for you instead of your opponent Christina Garcia, and they would really like to know how you are different from Christina.
We've spent 2018 being embarrassed. We have international coverage of our district for all the wrong reasons. I don't know where a member of the assembly thinks it's the right thing to have a kegerator in the office. I'm sorry, the kegerator's going. When you come into the office, you're going to find it's professional. You're not going to hear the S word, the F word, or you're never going to hear me referring to people as homo. I'm sorry, that is just, I don't know where somebody finds that they can do that. That's wrong. That's a terrible example for our kids. I want you to be able to bring your children into the 58th Assembly District office and see people working hard to help people. We have a lot of people that need a lot of help because the state government, it's massive. Washington is massive. Sometimes what our citizens need involves not only help from the state, but also involves the federal government. I'm going to hire as many people as I can to keep people close to the voters and help the voters with the problems. I'm going to put an end to this embarrassment. I simply want to go to work. We went over 100 days where she took the self-imposed vacation. We have no committee representation in Sacramento. I want to get on the committees and get to work. I want to be able to show you, the voter, I want to earn your respect, and I realize it's your office. I want to get on these committees to be able to help work on legislation that makes sense for all of us, not just some of us. I'm not going to go out and start insulting people. I'm not going to do the name calling that we've had to endure. It is totally 180 degrees the other way. I simply want to go to work. I want to go to work for us. I want to help get more homes built. I want to see our kids realize they have great job opportunities, and sometimes it does not involve 2 years or 4 years of college. It might involve a year or less, and then you get licensed by the state. Go look at the medical field. It's just exploding, the opportunities to be able to help as we are as a society get older. We need a lot of our young people developing that interest, but yet we have no leadership telling them what to do and showing them. We have an absolute gold mine at this community college in Cerritos, and yet nobody's really making sure our kids in every single high school has a chance to go to that campus and see. All high school kids should. They should be able to sign up, go to Cerritos College campus, and spend a day of orientation. They will find a lot of their educational needs are met there. We have one of the best training institutes for electricians in the United States right here in Commerce. The union is flush with money to pay a lot of the cost for the apprenticeships. We need to be presenting that to every high school student and say, if you want to be able to build because you like to build, guess what? We have it right here. It's right here in our front yard, in our backyard, and we have a union that wants to be able to help you. We don't have it going on right now. I want to be a promoter of what we have. I also want to be able to be somebody that's going to go find some opportunities that we have and then partner up with whoever we got to partner up with. So our kids come first. Our kids that become adults get hired. That's the major difference. I'm going to end the drama, and I'm going to get to work, and I'm going to ask you to support me on November 6th so that way we can get to work.
Thank you, sir. Is there any more questions? Okay, so it looks like, we are...
can I bring one up? It's tough that we deal with the pets. Siaka has a tough job in Downey. It's got a high kill rate. A lot of loving people work there, and then they leave because emotionally it's difficult to handle the quantity of animals that have to get put down every day. We need to bring about no-kill nonprofits that would ultimately be able to run Siaka and then partner up with the county and the city, because it's in Downey, and find better solutions than the high kill rate. We have a lot of very dedicated animal activists out there. All my pets, they're all pets we saved. Old people are so lonely, but yet when you get them that small dog or a cat, a smile comes to their face. That's not Sacramento coming up with new laws or lots of money. That's us working together to figure out, wow, what we're doing has a very high consequences, and yet we've got so many people out there that could love an animal. I'd love to see a nonprofit come together and raise money for the sole purpose of paying the adoption cost for somebody that's low income over 62 that needs that help. What a wonderful way of us helping us and helping deal with a terrible problem to make it so it's not terrible. Victims of crime. The minute that dog comes into their life starts to change for the better. And we need to be able to show that we've got a facility in Downey that has a very large population of dogs, and encourage our different crime support groups to come there and tour the facility. And then I'd love to see a nonprofit come together that would say, if you are a victim of crime, we will pay the adoption fee and we will make sure that pet has all the shots. That is us coming together to help each other. That's how I want to be able to help govern and be able to make a difference for all of us. Because our solutions are there. We have a lot of problems. But I think if we get together, we can figure out some solutions and solve a lot of our problems. So I appreciate the opportunity to let me talk about the dogs and the cats.
Thank you, sir. So, what would you like to tell as a closing remarks?
I got into this race after I saw what was going on. I'm a father who had to protect a 13-year-old child from sexual assault. We moved to Bellflower from another city in May of 2010 under duress. The therapist said, he's going by your house, he's trying to intimidate her, he's trying to shut her up. And that's very common with what goes on. I moved within 2 weeks. I've had to deal with the suicide issues. I've had to deal with a lot of issues that I didn't plan on dealing with as a parent. And I'm not telling you this for pity. We canceled the pity party a long time ago. I'm telling you this so you understand the shoes that I wear and how it influences me with how I think. I'm 56 years old. My sister's a couple years younger than I am. When she was in high school, she was drugged and raped. So when people question, why do you wait 30 years to say? I get it. My sister waited 30 years to tell us about how she was drugged and raped by two so-called classmates and got an STD out of it. and out of shame and fear didn't say anything for 30 years. She didn't say any of this for, I want to have pity or I want people to feel sorry for me. She said it a couple of years ago to help people understand this happens. And so when our kids are coming into high school, we need to have sessions with them. And maybe you call the class Behave. And talk about how do you behave towards other people. That's why I got into the race, because I saw how our current incumbent was behaving and realized, I'm sorry, that's just not acceptable. As you saw, there were 8 of us on the ballot. And I'm forever thankful that you chose me to be one of the 2 people on the ballot. I want to be able to go to work for all of us. I want to be able to get up every day and know I have the responsibility to fulfill your dreams, because that's my work agenda. I have the responsibility to fix our problems by bringing people together and looking at different ways to do it, because we can solve a lot of our problems when it's us working together. And as we're finding out, Sacramento isn't always the best help. Sacramento would actually be better off not getting involved in some of our problems and let us solve them. I do believe we are governed best when we are governed locally, because that allows us to express how we feel. I'm asking for your help on November 6th. I believe we have a bright future. We are losing way too many people from California because they can't handle the silly cost of living here. I want to do something for it. I want to do something so our kids succeed. I want to do something so our grandparents enjoy their time and they're not afraid. My door's always open. I want pastors to be able to come to my office and feel welcome. And I want the person that has the most opposite lifestyle that I have to walk into that office and say, can we talk to you? Because my response is, you bet. No matter who you are, where you come from, that's your office. The coffee, the iced tea, and the water, it'll always be ready, because I want you to be proud. And when you get done walking out of that office, you may not agree. You may not have gotten everything you wanted, but I want you to be able to say, you know what? They listened to me and they respected me. I'm asking for your help November 6th. I hope I've earned it, and thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, sir. Once again, on behalf of CCE fans, we want to thank you for your time today. And to our fans, we hope you all enjoyed our first Facebook Live broadcast. Make sure to join us next Saturday, 9:29, for the second Facebook Live session. Time will be announced soon. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Thank you, CC.